Well, the Eastern Cape Education Department says it has reached the final stage of the 2022 National Senior Certificate Examinations. The province says it has completed marking all scripts, and a comprehensive examination report to the National Department of Basic Education has been submitted. The matric class of 2022 will get the results on the 19th of this month. Well, joining me now is Education Spokesperson in the province, Vuyiseka Mboxela. Vuyiseka, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us this morning. Very quickly, your reflections on the examination process and the marking process. Did it go as smoothly as your department expected?
Thank you very much, Ndogozo, and compliments of the season to the people of the Eastern Cape and the country at large. I can confirm that indeed our examination led by the Curriculum Directorate went according to the plan, and I can confirm that indeed we have no incidents that which can be viewed as irregular as compared to some of the years that we have been. And I can confirm that indeed marking of scripts has been finalized by the province, and on the 22nd of December last year, it was the day where in-marking centers were closing and all other people that were there were going home. And the report that is then expected by the National Department of Basic Education has been submitted by the province. And between now and the day of the 19th, where the minister will be announcing results, it's a process now that is being led by National Department in collaboration with Umalusi as an independent body that assess credibility and does audit for the entire country. And we can say that at least we have hope that the class of 2022 will do us proud. The 165,000 learners that we had expected to write for this year's final examination, indeed they've written. And unfortunately, we must be the one that says this in the public. We lost one educator, which is on the side of Matatiele. When he was going home, unfortunately, he succumbed to a car accident. And on the 4th of January this year, he will be buried, and the MEC will be part of the funeral.
I mean, those are fantastic news, but as an education department, I'm sure you'll concur with me, you're not immune to some of the challenges that the country is facing as a whole. One of those, of course, being load shedding. I mean, just back in October, South Africa reached its 100th day of power cuts. How has that in any way affected the business of completing these examinations on time?
You know what? I think you might remember that on the first 2 days of examination, learners will be writing what is called CAT, which is the computer science in the other language. And the only thing that the department was able to do was to make a pre-arrangement with Eskom to say, give us your load shedding schedule so that we can be able to augment the time. And the only thing that the department was to do was to say, okay, here is the load shedding schedule of Eskom. It's starting at 11, maybe 11 to 1. Then examination will start at 1. And that is the process that was requested to the National Department of Basic Education. And indeed, the department was granted that opportunity to just augment the time, not the date which learners should be writing. And from there, you then find learners writing subjects that don't really need a computer. And in terms of our own expectation, that is the cleaning of computers, that must be done before learners can come in. That work was done prior the start of the examination, and we don't have glitches that says that on this particular day there's a school that couldn't write because of load shedding. And we are amongst the provinces that were very meticulous when it comes to that. And even if you would have read the statement that was issued by the National Department, there were only a few incidents where learners couldn't write because of load shedding, because provinces were advised to augment and adjust their own writing schedules based on what the energy utility was presenting as a schedule of load shedding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Vuyiseka, we know that, preparation for these national senior certificate examinations is a year-long process. Matriculants are, taught how to deal with, the pressures of writing examinations quite early on. But the Eastern Cape was also affected by flooding in 2022. Some students also having to be relocated. That must have had an adverse effect on their learning and curriculum program. Talk to us about that, how the department was able to assist them and facilitate whatever needed to be facilitated so that they can write these examinations.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I can make an example of that in a school that is in is in Jogabi. There's a school that had to be done an intervention in the form of it being redirected in terms of where to write examination. And the learners that were shown on the social media that were passing a huge current, they were not really the ones that are doing grade 12. They were the ones that are doing other grades. Those that were writing a grade 12, they were then to write the following day. And the only thing that the district did was to redirect them, that they mustn't write in the school where they expected to write, which is viewed as a marking center, because it is viewed as a writing center, because that's where they studied, but they used an alternative school. And in terms of other areas, mostly you'll find that learners will be advised that if there is going to be a current or else there is going to be a flood, what the district must do is to identify an available space in the form of hall, must identify an available space in the form of a junior secondary school, and from where we're seated, the only biggest incident that we've had, it was the one that was taking place in Jogabi. But even then, the district was able to come up with a plan which was to redirect learners to another adjacent school. And from the reports, that is the only one that we could say it did had a way of destabilizing the planning, but ultimately learners were able to write. Hence, in terms of the expected candidates, which was 165, all of them have written the examination successfully without having to write maybe a day after the national writing would have been finished.
Well, we also know that the Eastern Cape Education Department was the first to introduce a cohort of matric learners to write core subjects such as mathematics in their home language of isiXhosa. So this, of course, forming part of your pilot project. I would suspect that there's a lot of expectation on the results of those matric learners to see if, there is an argument to be made about learners being taught in their home languages, the benefits of that in the long run.
Actually, even in the trial examination, the department had to make what is called a qualitative analysis of the trial examination. Even there are pockets of excellence that which are registered, and it therefore means that when we scale it to the broader province, there's a lot that would be having as an experience, and we can say. There are grades now that have been declared that in the starting of this year, they will be introduced, not just in the Eastern Cape, but nationally by the Department of Basic Education, because what is really coming out is that some of the learners, they don't fail on the basis that they don't know the answer, but the problem becomes the barrier in language. And if then you were to put a learner that does English as a home language and a learner that does English as a second home language, say that they must attend a physics paper. The first struggle that the one that does English in the second language have to do is to read the question which is written in English, interpret that question, construct an answer, and then construct a sentence. So it therefore means that the one that is doing the paper in a language that is a secondary language has a lot of work to do than the one that would be reading this paper as a simple English, understanding it, as a language of his or hers, and will be very swift in understanding what is needed. And two, there is nothing that says, even in the academic field, that has been put before the department to say the only time that one can succeed in the academia is when you are being taught in English. For an example, in the last 2 years, we have had a PhD student in Rhodes University in the Eastern Cape that wrote a thesis in the home language. So it therefore means that what we have been subjecting our learners to, that it is obligatory that you must write in English, it has been a bit unfair. And if we all understand the power relations between language and the content, we will then be all excited about what is yet to come in these examination results. And of course, whilst the minister will be looking broadly in the country, the interest of the MEC in the department will be looking at what has been produced by the language program in the Eastern Cape. Where are the blind spots, and where must we put more effort, and where must we know that here we're excelling, and also how do we then do budget adjustment, because this will need, one, training of those that are involved in the examination, and two, will also need a lot of training in the teachers themselves. So this is a moment where we are not just looking at what will be the output of grade 12, but also what will be the qualitative output of results themselves, especially on the pilot program that we have had, which was started in 2012 in Tsofimvak.
Well, Vuyiseka, in your statement, you mentioned that as a department, you are confident that all examination-related claims will be processed by the end of this month. Can you take us through, if at all possible, what some of those outstanding claims may be?
When you talk of examination staff, you talk of different components. You talk of people that are that are teachers. You talk of people that are CES, that is people that are responsible to oversee the teachers. You also talk of office staff. So those people, they have to do a claim that is outside the salary. So that process has been started, and I can confirm that before I came to this interview, I was informed by one official that there's a meeting with the CFO of the department which looks at how is this going to be done, because whilst we know that we've got an obligation to pay those people, but we must pay them genuinely, pay them what is due to them, and make sure that we don't have recurring questions after this process, because it will put a bad spot in the examination process. So there's a meeting that is dealing with that, and the month that is being put aside to finalize everything, including those that are not teachers, including those that are called non-core staff members, that they be paid all the needed document. They are going to be done in this month of January. Because the other thing that maybe I must make as an indication about Eastern Cape, the Eastern Cape has got a central payment process which is done by another department, not the Department of Education. So the Department of Education compiles the work, and then that work gets to be deposited in the provincial treasurer. And then when the provincial treasurer have done all their own processes, they are satisfied that every authentic document is needed, they then begin the process of payment. So the department is a speed in doing that, so that at least by the end of the month, everything else would have been done.
Vuyiseka, thank you so much for your time and for coming onto our program today. We'll leave it there for now.